'Tis the season for leaks, apparently, and it seems like Tears of the Kingdom is no exception. Normally, I don't cover leaks on this channel because verifying them gets increasingly harder and harder by the year, and I don't want to be that guy. However, the leaks I'm going to talk about today seem pretty legit. They either come from reliable sources or have so much extensive photo evidence that I'm willing to believe them. So we've got 3 leaks to talk about today concerning Tears of the Kingdom. Although none of this will have to do with plot details, potential spoiler warning. With that out of the way, let's jump into it. The first quote-unquote leak, and I say that with a grain of salt, comes from the ESRB. So I guess this is less of an actual leak and more of a leak in terms of information about the game that isn't coming directly from Nintendo. Regardless, Tears of the Kingdom has officially been rated. Although development isn't completely finished, submitting for a rating probably means Nintendo is wrapping things up and there won't be very many major additions between now and release. It could also be an indication that they will start the marketing campaigns very soon, which means more trailers. Now you might be wondering, what did Tears of the Kingdom get rated? Well, E10+, just like the original game, minus one very interesting exclusion. Here's the rating blurb for Breath of the Wild, and here's the one for Tears of the Kingdom. As you can see, the only difference is the exclusion of use of alcohol. Now, the only time alcohol was referenced in Breath of the Wild was by the Noble Canteen, and more specifically the drink called the Noble Pursuit. So it's likely that won't be appearing in the game. It's not a huge deal, but I wanted to point it out because that begs the question as to what happened to the bar in Gerudo Town. Could this be an important plot point? Yeah, probably not. But it could maybe be a soft confirmation that some changes to the base map will be made. I wouldn't put a ton of stock into that assumption, but I am just throwing it out there. Now, before we move on, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers before Tears of the Kingdom releases, and I'm planning on covering that game extensively. So if that's the type of content you're interested in and you'd like to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. It would really help me out. Thanks. Alright, next up on our list of leaks is this flyer. You may have seen this floating around online already. Here it just shows that Tears of the Kingdom will have support for Nintendo Switch Online. Now this doesn't mean that it's going to have any form of online multiplayer or social functionality. This is likely just there because the game will feature cloud saves. It could also hint at the possibility of DLC in the future, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo announced a series of DLC waves like with the first game. And it would only make sense that if they did announce DLC, that they would add that DLC to the Nintendo Switch Online subscription program like with Animal Crossing and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So that's likely the extent of the inclusion of Nintendo Switch Online in Tears of the Kingdom. Who knows though, maybe Nintendo will surprise us and include some sort of social aspect. Honestly, the only thing I could see working in Zelda would be a straight up ripoff of the Dark Souls message system, in which players can leave cryptic and limited messages on the floor all over the world. That would be a cool addition, but I highly doubt that will ever happen. In all honesty, it's probably just DLC and cloud saves, and that's it. Now I saved the biggest leak for last. Here are photos of a special edition Nintendo Switch OLED model that leaked online recently. The design features some interesting elements, and I want to go over them real quick. So first things first, here's the whole package. It features a stunning white dock with the Hylian crest in the center and 2 gold Joy-Cons, with the left Joy-Con featuring a nice green accent design and the right featuring a white swirling circle design. Both Joy-Cons feature a white backside with a small golden bit of what looks like ancient text. The Switch itself has that same circular design on the back of it as well. Now focusing on the dock itself, the Triforce crest seems to be the same crest that is featured on the Art and Artifacts book released by Dark Horse a couple years back. On the left, you've got some writing in a language that I don't think anyone has been able to translate yet, and on the right side, you've got the circle and line designs that have been used in promotional material on the Tears of the Kingdom website. Surrounding the Triforce crest, you can finally see some more text and what appears to be the dragons from the logo of the game. They're hard to make out in these photos, but they're definitely there. If we take a closer look at the left Joy-Con, the green accent graphic features the same reaching energy lines that Link's arm has. But that's not even the most important thing. Underneath the buttons is a golden crest of sorts. It features 2 wings that are folded upwards, 2 feet or perhaps 2 eyes, hard to really say. In the center it appears to be a stem and a bud of some sort of flower, like a blossom perhaps. What's interesting though is that those elements are also found on this sky creature from the trailers. You can see the same bud and shape used on his arms. Given that revelation and the inclusion of wings, this could be a new crest for the people, or I guess creatures of the sky. I want to say it's probably connected to that weird creature we saw in the engravings of the last trailer, but I've got absolutely no evidence to back up that claim. At this point, who really knows what it means? But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of speculation coming from just this little design element alone in the very near future. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it as well, so chime off in the comments down below with your ideas on what this symbol actually represents. Now, you might be skeptical about the leak's authenticity, and that's fair. I think it's always a good idea to take leaks with a grain of salt. I know photos can be faked and people can create mock hardware to fool people online. However, there are a few things that make me believe this console leak is legit. Firstly, the amount of photos. There is a lot, and faking all of those would take a lot of time and a lot of effort to make them all this believable. Now, that doesn't automatically make it legit, and I wouldn't put it past someone to spend days trying to make a fake leak for internet clout. It's happened before, but the printing on the box looks spot on. They've even got the correct cutouts and fold markings, even the interior spots for the Joy-Cons are there. Sure, you could reuse the inside of an old box, but I think the outside of the box is without question. Believe it or not, the inclusion of another Switch playing Pokemon that features some of what I want to say is Chinese text in the Pokemon's name helps seal the deal for me. This was likely taken off a production line, which is also exactly how the Splatoon 3 OLED Switch leak happened, so a trend is beginning to establish itself here. We have to remember, the game does come out within the next 5 months. I've gotta believe with how popular Breath of the Wild is, Tears of the Kingdom is going to bring in a lot of new Zelda fans, and this might just be the console they choose to get into the Nintendo Switch. So not only do you have to make enough units for new fans, but also collectors as well. Nintendo is probably preparing as much stock for this one as they can leading up to the game's release. Plus, given the delays in manufacturing and chip shortages and such, Nintendo may have just wanted to get these produced earlier than normal just to ensure they had enough ready on time. That being said, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The existence of this special edition OLED Switch pretty much confirms that Tears of the Kingdom won't be launching on a new Switch Pro, and that a Switch Pro probably isn't happening at this point. Personally, I'm okay with that. Mid-generation upgrades to consoles have never really sat right with me. Plus, if the recent Pokemon games have taught us anything, it's that sub-30 FPS games make for terrible player experiences. So while I'm expecting Tears of the Kingdom to have some sort of frame dips in heavy areas just like the original, I'm glad Nintendo didn't refresh the hardware and knew exactly what they were working with for the entirety of this game's development, and I think it'll be better because of that. Alright, I think that's about all I've got for you today. As always, I encourage you to comment down below what your thoughts are on any of the topics I covered in this video, like the mystery of the symbol on the Joy-Con, or even the lack of a Switch Pro. I really want to hear what you guys have to think. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, a like rating would be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more of my videos, consider subscribing. Once again though guys, my name is Matt, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.